It is May 27th, 2018. We're here in San Diego, California. We have the new Wohler 700 HD or VIS 700 HD high definition pan and tilt camera system. This has a touch screen, so it has a very glossy with a lot of glare screen. And on the screen, the upper left is your microphone. We did a couple recordings before this one, and unfortunately we didn't realize the audio is defaulted to always be off. So you always have to press the microphone icon. It will go from essentially a dull black-gray to a white signal noting that it's on. Then you're finally recording audio. So we're going to re-record all the things. We've got a brand new dome on this camera right now, polycarbonate dome, and we did put the protective shield over the end of it. So that it doesn't get scratched up and hopefully shows a quality video can get through. So the first video we're going to do here is going down a 3-inch cast iron vent. We're going to go into the menu key and we're going to turn up the brightness all the way. The brightness on the LEDs every time you turn this camera on are also, they're pretty bright, but it's not the maximum setting. So we'll use the joystick or your finger on the pad. The lights are now set to the maximum. The next icon is the focus, and so when you're inside the pipe, you're able to constantly focus this camera, and actually you kind of need to do that depending on what you're trying to look at, but it's fairly simple, of course. So we're going to take that menu off though, and we're now going to go ahead and go down. We're going to go ahead and adjust the camera so that it's looking more straight down. Now again, you're going to see those little edges or rings there on part of the screen. That is the black plastic protective guard over the polycarbonate dome. So that always interferes just slightly with the image, and that's always going to show up on there. Otherwise, the polycarbonate dome just gets scratched up so instantly that after just one job, it sometimes interferes with that job already, and you can't even do another one. That's probably the biggest pet peeve, of course, about this Wohler system, which everybody knows about, is the polycarbonate dome scratch so easy. It would be very nice. I'd be willing to spend $1,000 or $1,500 if they could somehow come up with a complete sapphire dome. They're able to produce that, because all the other expensive pan and tilt cameras out there are in the $20,000 range and more. So even though this camera is between $8 and $9 grand, still pushing it below the 10 grand mark to get that quality would be amazing, but obviously they didn't do that. Okay, so it looks like we're coming up on what should be the closet arm here, or another vent T-junction here. I think this is the vent. We weren't really paying attention to our distance counter, sorry. So we're going to look across this. Yeah, that's our small 2-inch vent T-junction that's picking up the lavatory sink and then goes across for the bathtub for this house. So there's that vent, just showing it's unobstructed. Rare that they would be, but we're just showing that because of the pan and tilt option we get with this camera. So we're going down the line here. We're going to go ahead and go into the focus mode here for a second. So you can kind of see how the image kind of gets blurry, and then it gets clearer again. So again, depending on the distance of what you're trying to look at, really close up or farther down the line, you'll need to be constantly adjusting that. Transition coupling. Can't really tell if that's just another coupling or if that's part of a T-junction, so we're going to pan our camera over. We're still in the focus mode. That's the one thing about the focus mode. You've got to get that always off the menu and clear that out before you can use the joystick to go ahead and pan and tilt, because besides again the touch screen on the screen to adjust these options, the joystick, when you go into that mode, is the second way to adjust it. So you have to exit out of that, and then you can start pan and tilting with the joystick. So we're just going to scan around there, make sure we weren't missing any openings. Don't see any. Oops. Look back down the pipe here. Okay, it's a really sunny day today, but with the new dome on, we've got a pretty clear image on the screen. Again, being that they wanted to make it a touch screen, the surface being very glossy like this, I'm assuming is the only way they could go. If you don't focus your eyes, you're going to get an exact mirror reflection of yourself staring in it and all the background. We do have the sun shield on that they give you. That obviously does help quite a bit. I guess you could try to put it inside another little box because the monitor does pull out if you really had some trouble with the glare in the screen. So it's a little tough sometimes to see it, but that's just one thing. Now it looks like we're right here at the toilet opening, so this is one of the things that's good about a pan and tilt camera and sometimes needed. Whether you've had a toilet stoppage or want to confirm there's no towelettes, wipes, or something else hanging in the closet arm, if you can't get another camera through the toilet bowl itself. There's obviously small cameras that can make it through toilet bowls now. But we're going to go ahead and see if we can look across this. Okay, right, there we go. So that is the closet elbow for the toilet. So we're looking across that. Now the thing that we would like to do with this camera is go ahead and pause the video, go ahead and flush the toilet by going down the rooftop here and show the water cascading by. Unfortunately, we didn't see in the book anywhere that this has a pause mode for the video. You hit the video icon for on and off, and so basically it would create a whole new file. You can't pause it and then continue on. If you needed to run water to clear the camera face or to do a test, it's going to create a whole new secondary file. So then you've got to inform your customer, if you're giving them that drive, that they're going to have to go ahead and watch a couple files in a row. Not the end of the world, but it's a nice feature to have that pause, I can tell you. So anyway, our closet arm is clear. So again, that's one of the neat features about a pan and tilt camera. We're going to go into the focus mode. It looks like we're probably at a perfect setting to look down there. Yeah, it's a little bit blurrier. And again, being outdoors, we're still getting some of that glare. It's kind of hard to see it every once in a while, but overall we can see most of the image on there. And so yeah, looks nice and clear on the screen, I should say. So now we're going to go ahead and get out of the focus mode, move our joystick so that we can point down again. Okay, going down the line, and we should be coming up to, of course, the immediate 90-degree elbow here to transition. And here's the combo fitting. So we're now into the sewer main. Okay, so here we've come up on a junction. This is the lavatory tie-in, it looks like. So now we can come up to this edge. We'll go ahead and look up this if we can. We may have to shift the camera a little bit more forward. Now let's see how well we can see up that. Okay, there we go. Now we've got one of the black little lines in the way from this protective dome piece. Now, as we back up, there you go. As much the opening as we can get. So again, a part of that black line on the screen is the shadow and the little black plastic piece blocking the camera image. But again, if we didn't have that on there, this dome is going to get scratched up so quickly. It might even interfere with this part of the job as we move down there if it scratches up in the right spot. But we can see that that opening is nice and clear, at least at that junction there. So we'll now go ahead and just hit the leveling centered key, which brings it back down to straight ahead. We're going down. This is a 3-inch cast iron pipe. Okay, so here we have a buried clean out. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and see if we can re-level our camera. Looks like it's maybe that clean out is in the off center mode there. No, there we go. We recentered the camera so it's pointing straight ahead, so it is vertically up. Now we'll go ahead and look up. Again, the great thing about this, so we can see here that we have our buried clean out, but it's not brought up to surface hardly at all. We can see that this is green, it's a brass fitting. We're going to go into the focus mode. So as you can see, we are losing focus there as we're adjusting off the joystick. And then going to the maximum setting, loses it again. So you have to find the perfect medium in between to get that real nice clarity. But again, not in this case, we already kind of could see it pretty well from the beginning, but just again, show an example. And so we'll now come out of that, and we can just pan around it just a little bit, and then look back down the pipe. We'll go ahead and hit the bottom left of the screen. It'll go ahead and center, level the camera. This camera on the screen is also showing the angle or arc, downward slope or upward slope, if it would have to be, that the pipe is in. So it shows the degrees on the screen. And that's the little bottom left signal, and that's also what you hit when you need to readjust the camera to have it pointing level and straight across. This push rod, I think we mentioned on the first video we made, without it being in a drain line, it's very unique. It's an oval shaped push rod. It's like a fiber rod, and it's not round. It's the first push rod I've ever seen that's not round. Very strange, but that's what this one's set up as. Trying to see if we're looking down the pipe as good as we can. It's about the best spot angle right there. Trying to get the pipe lit up on the left side of the screen here. Got to rotate that around a little bit and come up. So we did notice that the camera, the end of it, and it's not unusual for a lot of cameras, it's slightly angled. So there's no spring that Wohler uses in between their termination and the camera head, of course, and so there's a slight arc or bend on the camera itself. When you pull it out or holding it open, it doesn't lay perfectly forward, but no camera exactly does. But this one right now, slightly angled, so we kind of had to mess with the pan and tilt there to get it kind of pointing a little bit more where we want. Here's a good center view there. So you can see the wall of the cast iron really good, of course, with this high definition image. Go into the focus mode. So definitely very clear. Go ahead and go back down again, a little line here, sorry. Sometimes this movement of the camera and the joystick moves in a little bit larger positions if you're not careful with your fingers. Lighting up the pipe, again, we're kind of reposition it. I kind of wish I had a better view of the whole pipe in front of me there. The one thing we noticed when we uploaded some previous videos, which again, we are on the same line, we didn't record audio though, was that It actually does show up even clearer when I've uploaded them and then watched them on a computer screen. Of course, that doesn't help when you're out in the field and you're trying to assess something right up front, but we did notice that as well. But we've noticed that with other cameras as well. Okay, so now we've transitioned to ABS pipe. So we've got black ABS pipe now here. And here's a clean out T-junction. So now we're going to go ahead and re-center and level the camera here, so we're pointing and facing the correct way here on the line. So it's self-adjusting itself right now. So this is one of the big uses that we've always wanted with pan and tilt, is to be able to locate buried cleanouts. But not only that, look up that junction to see how far the pipe may have been extended. The first clean out we passed was an original one with the brass cap. Now this one here was an alteration. So as we come up to the edge here, we want to look up this line. Kind of push to the edge. Okay, we're just not seeing anything there. I don't know if we've got some debris on the lens. Okay, I can see as we back up that little black, that's probably one of those little lines from the plastic protective shroud, the sleeve shield. So we can see that that ABS pipe goes up. Can't see how far. The lighting only throws it up so much. Again, when we upload this to a computer, we might be able to see farther down. Again, being outdoors here on a sunny day, again, we're having trouble kind of just looking at our reflection on the screen and trying to look past that and focus in on there. But when we've got to an area where it's kind of hard to look across, kind of lose everything. So now we can see again that this has been extended up quite a ways. Now we've cameraed this property multiple times, so we know it's barely below the rocks on the front lawn, but it's not exposed in any way, so another plumber wouldn't be able to see it if you hadn't cameraed and located this, and you wouldn't know how much it was possibly exposed. So again, that's what's nice about these pan and tilts, but we're not seeing that far up the line, unfortunately, so it's not really diffusing enough light. That's another thing we wish this pan and tilt or other pan and tilts had, is that maybe 2 or 3 of the LEDs, if they were more focusing light, like a spotlight essentially. So not all the LEDs just being where they regular diffuse out, but have either a miniature reflector, or if they make an LED that actually shoots it out, not like a laser light of course, but just more poignant and focused out. So when you're trying to look across a long distance like this at a T-junction, it's throwing a lot of the light, not diffusing it, but throwing it straight down the line so that you can see and light up that pipe farther away. So again, we can see that the pipe goes up. We're seeing a large black hollow piece on the screen, but it's not just throwing up enough that we can get a clear, precise detail. Now again, when we upload this and this is on the internet, maybe you're going to be able to see a little bit more detail, but on the screen here, we're just not noticing anything. We can't tell you if this is 1 foot, 2 foot, less or more, within any kind of range, how far this pipe might be extended up. So we're going to back up just a little bit here and re-level center the camera here with the button. So that was a quick adjustment. So now this is a 90-degree turn we've just made. We're now going down this vertical pipe here, and then here this vertical pipe is already coming to another 90-degree turn already. Okay, now here's a transition at this bottom 90, you can see, to clay pipe, and it's slightly offset. So we can now move the camera around just a little bit here. Let's rotate this around. Oops, sorry about that. So you can see that offset, and we can see that water. So you can see on both that side and this side, it's misaligned and it's a little bit higher. So we've got a little pocket of water hanging out there, and we've got quite a bit of clay pipe that is basically exposed on the sides, and you can't see it on the bottom because the water's hanging out there. So it's creating quite a big lip. So essentially, we can move around that entire piece there. We don't have any roots or anything intruding though. Rotate this around again. We apologize. Straight on view. So we've tried multiple cameras down this line, so we know we're not going to get past this lip, especially with this couple 90-degree turns, and this is a larger camera head, and not with a flexible spring on the end. So our first few tests that we did with this camera, we will admit, we were using the same polycarbonate dome that we had started with for the inspection showing it live, and it got scratched up so bad that our initial feeds were not as clear as this for sure. So you really got to get that protective sleeve, I think, for these polycarbonate domes. If you've never owned one of these Wohler cameras, if not, go ahead and be prepared to buy a multiple of the 10 packs of the replacement domes, because you're going to go through them job by job, literally. So we're now just pulling back through this cast iron. We can stop it at one more spot here and just kind of maybe show the side walls here. So again, okay, so now we're there. It's really, really close to the cameras. We rotated, so we'll go into the focus mode here on the menu. And as we pull back, you can see the clarity. We're seeing all the little ridges, all the little pieces. So it is quite clear. So if you're trying to distinguish if a pipe has a crack in it, or a break, or is it just basically a peeling piece of the pipe, or some debris or something strange, hair even, that makes it look like a crack line, you can get really close up with this. So you can see that little flaking and peeling and literally the nooks and crannies within the line. We can focus that. We're going to come out of the menu and just rotate back. So you can see as soon as we rotate it back and across, we're already kind of out of focus. So you, again, really have to play with the focus quite often when you're moving this around to look at different spots of the line. And so the default settings when you first turn it on, again, are just going to depend on what you're looking at, but you will need some constant play and adjustment with it. But yeah, overall the clarity is really good. Again, not a huge amount of light on this to see down the pipe very far, at least on the screen we're seeing here. That's what matters. Maybe again when it's uploaded it might look a little bit lighter and see farther down the line. So, as always, brighter lights would be a little bit better, but they're definitely better than the 350 model, and the image quality and what shows up on the screen is a million times better than the 350 model. So overall, we're pleased right now with the image we're seeing and the quality. And again, this is a 3-inch cast iron pipe, so we know we can easily inspect that and get through a few turns on the system with this push rod. So the recording does only record to the SD card. It has a USB slot, but you do have to go ahead and go into the menu key when you're done recording, and you can transfer it right here off the monitor system. So you can give your customer a USB, but it's always going to record to the SD card, so that's kind of like a mini hard drive. You can look at it like that, and then you can make a duplicate onto the USB port and give that to the customer, which is obviously what everybody would need if they're going to look on a computer rather than an SD card. Makes it much easier and simpler. So here's that little clean out that we had passed before. Look at that again right here. So again, this is what we love about these pan and tilts, being able to see that that was a clean out. And if you're just looking straight forward with some cameras, you might completely miss that. Now you can see the curvature of the pipe somewhat, and you can kind of see part of the lip, but most cameras aren't going to be able to distinguish and tell you, oh, yeah, there's a clean out, but it's all the way buried at the pipe depth level, so you're going to have a lot of digging if it's pretty deep to get to that to remove it and then extend it up. So, and again, really good clarity on the system. I think this pipe has some roots in the clay pipe farther down, but we'd really prefer to see some roots in cast iron with this camera. So hopefully we'll get a job here in the next day or two that we can record and show that for the quality of showing if we can find a crack or anything else on the system. So we're going to go ahead and pull this camera back out, and again we'll just go ahead and show here. So there's a lot of debris on our camera head and then that little piece there, but it looks like it should have protected the dome quite well here. So again, this is the Wohler 700 HD camera, high definition pan and tilt, their newest model, and that concludes this recording.